All right, guys. So welcome to session number 14. So it's been going for a while, and we're really excited to have you here. And everyone who is watching, awesome for you guys to continue being and hanging out with us and getting value from this. We've seen some amazing feedback. So we've decided, even though this was meant to be a COVID thing, that we're going to continue these panels and these discussions because, you know, as long as our business owners and our community are finding them useful, then we are all up for it. Today's topic I am really, really excited about, and I'm really excited about the two panelists we have here right now, because Josh, we'll start with Josh. Josh is Josh, we've known each other for about 10 years. Josh and
Maybe,
I go, yeah, we go way back. Your brother and I used to work together in the olden days at Mills Reef, and you used to try and convince me to come to the Lobster Club. So this is how long we've known each other. But from there, you know, like at the time we both had a job, we've come a long way. Now you are co-owner of two Barrio Brothers, two Barrio Expresses, and Rye. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So over the last 5 years, you've been really into growing and expanding and helping your team members as well to help and grow with you, right? So I'm really excited about that. And then we have on the other side Chef Cynthia Louise, who is currently cruising through Bali every week in a different resort. She's just shared with us, keeping the economy going in Bali. I love that. That's really awesome. And Chef Cynthia Louise, you've been an incredible entrepreneur, even though you're talking about not being one or hanging out with entrepreneurs that much. But you are an online chef, a retreat chef. You run like other people's cafe business models, like Roger's Genius U cafes. And you set them up. You do live cooking sessions online. You have your own product range. So diversification is your thing, right? Very, very strongly.
Yeah, totally. Just other people's mics are on, so I don't know what it is. Is it me or?
Yeah, I've just muted. So
okay. Yes. So yes, to answer your question.
Right. So thank you so much for coming. Today's conversation is all going to be around hospitality, where we at, what's the current status in the Bay of Plenty, but as well as in Bali, but also like what's the key for hospitality business to thrive and survive moving forward, and with all this uncertainty and the unknown. So Josh, I'll start with you today. You tell us a little bit, just a brief, how has it been since we've come out of lockdown?
Well, like I was just saying before when we were, and talking to us, at the moment we're in sort of like this weird, I don't know if you call it a bubble, whereas we're actually trading pretty well. The last couple of weeks have been good. I don't know if it's a resurgence of people being able to go out and dine and eat and socialize again. Yeah, like level 2 and 3 were a little tricky. Level 2, we did a lot of, we did takeaways, we did home deliveries and that sort of stuff as well. Level 3 was we're limited by capacity. So yeah, no, it's nice to kind of have some sort of normality back, and I'm sure the staff and that are looking forward to their regular hours and that sort of stuff.
So tell me, in the current economy, are you, because we are all heading into winter, right? So we had this discussion in previous panels that all the business owners in Tauranga make their money, or like the hospital business owners make their money in summer to get and cover winter, right? And because winter slows down. But then we hit just before even Easter happened. So you had 6 weeks of non-trading in a relatively busy-ish time. So are you busier than you used to be, or are you the same? You're tracking the same for the month of June? How does it look like?
I was just having a look before. It's almost the same, and it's not exactly that way now. When we opened the Barrio on the Mount 7 years ago, or 7.5 years ago, it was like day and night, winter and summer was massive. Now it's much more even, and particularly in Tauranga, July is our second or third busiest month. So yeah, if we can trade relatively well through the next couple of months, and then obviously the mount gets rampant in summer, and we have all the we do a lot of stuff at the markets and with catering and things like that. If we can get through to that time, I think we'll be happy days.
Perfect. So I didn't realize that it had shifted in Tauranga that much. Valerie.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Josh. So did you have to change anything in the last few weeks, or you're kind of checking as it is? So what is your strategy? What are you doing maybe different or better? What's happening in your world that you're actually adjusting to the market somehow?
Initially, well, we were already really set up for takeaways. We already did, we had previously done Uber Eats, and we used a New Zealand-based company called Deliver Easy. So we were already doing those things. We already had a pretty good established takeaway sort of setup, and we were used to doing it. And our food is at that value end of the market that was affordable for people to buy sort of pretty regularly. So all we did was we got our online ordering set up on our website and made that sort of as seamless as possible. We just made it easy for people to order online. And going forwards, we've taken away, we're initially open with a reduced menu, but we've now kind of gone back to a full menu in the restaurants. And we just initially reduced the hours, but they're almost back to, like we've just opened up for lunches on the weekends in the Mount, which we'd stopped doing. I guess it just gave us a chance to reset and take away some of the things that we thought were untouchable or might be a bad look if we did, closing for lunches at our site Rye in town. We never made any money on lunches, but they gave us the ability to hold on to a fourth full-time chef or attract a better quality chef. And we've since cut the lunches there, and we're sort of, it hasn't made too much of an issue, but it's made us think about those sort of things.
Yeah. And how about your team? How's your team going, and what are they up to? And you finding the culture has changed after the COVID somehow, or everything is still the same? What's happening with the team and the people out there, the people who work for you?
I guess, I think everyone's really happy to have a job. So I've found that everyone's been pretty positive. Like we had a lot of our management staff on salaries, and the main goal was to sort of get them back to sort of full-time hours as quickly as possible. So we juggled around a few things there. But overall, the staff has been awesome. Having the subsidy has meant their job's been secured the whole time. So I don't think they've had to worry about, they haven't had the worry of losing the job, but it's kind of that middle level of staff that were probably fretting about their hours a little bit and how quickly the business was going to bounce back to be able to afford to have them in like a full-time capacity. But it's I think everyone's more or less back to normal now, so they're all really positive actually. We've had no issues at all. Been good.
That's cool. Do you think there is like a newly found appreciation for the fact that some people have jobs and some don't?
Yeah, I think with our industry, particularly in this area, and I don't know if it's a national or an international thing, there's a massive shortage of people that want to do the work, and particularly qualified people that want to do the work. And with so many job losses, like we've just advertised for a manager's position in the Barrio Brothers in Tauranga, and I've never had so many sort of qualified applicants. We normally get the same repeat type CVs that you kind of aren't qualified for the job, but this time we've had a really good response, and we've actually been able to employ a New Zealander in the role for the first time.
Do you think that's an indication of how many jobs have disappeared, unfortunately, in New Zealand in the hospitality industry?
No, I think that because it's like, a lot of the applications are coming from Wanaka and Queenstown. So obviously the travellers normally that, say for example, you're from the Northern Hemisphere, you'll come over here sort of September, October, work in the Mount or the likes for summer, and then you'll work your way down the island and you'll normally finish up in Queenstown or Wanaka or somewhere like that, and then you're off if you're doing like a year sort of tour. Well, those jobs aren't probably available or are much more scarce than they were before. So we've found there's lots of people that have been made redundant in the hotels, and they're looking for jobs elsewhere.
Perfect. So before we head to Chef Cynthia and talk about like the global world out there, we also have Denise here. Denise, welcome. Awesome that you finally found your way. I know I was like suddenly going, I'm not actually quite sure if we shared where you have to go. So thank you for making it. You are part of the Tourism Bay of Plenty, which is really awesome. So can you share with us a little bit like what's the outlook in the industry and tourism and hospitality around the Bay of Plenty? So I assume that includes Whakatane and Rotorua as well, right?
Our region covers from Waihi Beach down through, so Western Bay, through into Tauranga, Mount Maunganui, down the coast to Puki, over to Whakatane, and into the Whirinaki forest. We don't include Rotorua. However, we are part of a collective that, sorry, my emails keep coming through. We are part of a collective called Explore Central North Island. So I am in continual communication with that central North Island, which is obviously Rotorua, Coromandel, Hamilton, Waikato, Ruapehu, Taupo, Hawke's Bay, and Taurawhiti, Gisborne.
So how does the landscape look like? Like, tell us the truth. What's honestly like, how is it looking at the moment?
It's interesting. So before, obviously, COVID hit fairly fast, and there wasn't a lot of time to react, other than it was clear that many of the hotels were getting cancellations, and so were the operators. But they were, when I say cancellations, they were more postponements at that stage. So when we went into hibernation, obviously nobody could open, and now that we're out of that, many of the industry are still in hibernation. From a Bay of Plenty perspective, whether we're lucky or not, 70% of our tourism business is domestic. The other is international. So a lot of our international business pretty much is gone for now. So this time of the year, many of our operators are hibernating anyway. And because they're smaller operators or medium to small businesses, they're in a better position perhaps than those that are from Queenstown or from Rotorua or Wanaka, as you mentioned, and some of the more touristy spots where the international visitors tend to spend more time. And yeah, so that kind of gives you a bit of an idea. Those that are open have pivoted more towards the domestic market, and we have a great example, and I'll use one of them, and that's Aries Helicopters. Now, Aries was a helicopter company that also flew to Whakari, so we went from one disaster to another, as you can well imagine. And at that time when Whakari went up as well, they had to make a whole lot of changes because, a good percentage of their business was flying out to White Island. So they have pivoted towards the domestic market. So they've changed their offering clearly. And with that, their pricing has changed as well. And they're actually busier now at this time of the year than they were this time last year. So they've done an amazing job in doing that. And I think we've got to remember as well that there are many people out there that, and I'm one of them, that was traveling to Bali in July and have paid for tickets and had money in the bank to have a holiday. So now they're spending their money in the regions or domestically. So we have also noticed that we've had an increase in spend, and I'm actually happy to share that with you. I have a slide which I can send to you, Paulina, if you like, or some more information. And there has been an increase in spend over the last few weeks in comparison to this time last year. So that's a good sign. But also I think what we may need to take into consideration is that many businesses haven't handled cash and possibly still aren't handling cash. So for the hospitality in particular, it may be showing what the information we're getting is obviously via a card. That's the only way that we can actually get that research back is via the cards. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I think we're in a better position than many destinations, perhaps. And we're also working very strongly with Tourism New Zealand with a domestic campaign that is about to roll out, and you'll hear about that more so. So that's all about doing something new in New Zealand. So instead of, and this is where it could impact us a little bit because we know Kiwis love to come and spend time in the Bay, particularly if they've got a holiday home or they're visiting friends and relatives. But what Tourism New Zealand are encouraging is for people to get out there and do something totally different. So instead of going to your usual place, go somewhere different and do something different every day. And then, of course, we're also now waiting on that Australia bubble, which is extremely important, which is predominantly our international market, other than the US and the UK and German market.
So you mentioned that the average spend increased. Do we know in regards to how many people are actually domestically traveling? Like, has that number been steady on to last year or increased or decreased?
Yeah. So Paulina, what we'll get, or this lovely group of people, is we have a research person here, and we also are part of MB. So we will get that information coming through, but it's always a couple of months behind. So we don't get it month on month. But it's pretty clear, I think, and that people are spending money, whether it is our locals or whether it is people from, for example, Hamilton Waikato coming over here and spending the day and going out and enjoying a meal or doing an activity, or whether it's from Auckland. We don't have that information right now.
What blows my mind, and this is something because we were about to fly out to Europe in a couple of weeks' time. Yay! Yay for me, maybe next year. And so when we booked the flight flights and accommodation and everything, heading down to Queenstown, what really surprised me is that I'm not talking even about the airlines, but even like accommodation, like their prices are extremely high at the moment. Like they haven't, and that's something which really surprised me, that they haven't adopted anything where they're gone and say, okay, we'll run a campaign, especially like Queenstown, where we're going to make sure that we have more domestic people arriving. Like the prices are as ridiculous. Like going for 5 days to Queenstown is like going to Europe and back with no change.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't speak on behalf of other regions. I do know that our region, for example, they have packages in place. Trinity Wharf is a great example. They've pulled together several packages, for weekends or for stays. So, they have considered the domestic market. Some of our operators, there isn't a big margin anyway. So, I think, it's a hard one because once you start dropping rates, it's extremely difficult to bring them back. And I spent 13 years in Rotorua, and they did that with their accommodation, which means you can't then reinvest back into your properties if you start dropping it extensively. I guess if you want to go to Queenstown, and unfortunately, I guess I get what people are saying, but we don't have any influence over what.
No, not at all. It's something really just surprised me because, and I totally understand it. I'm not saying, as a business consultant, I would not recommend to reduce the price to ridiculous things. It just really, we've been out quite a little bit like Chef Cynthia. We are going around our locals, making sure that we try to spend money with our locals. And I feel like the prices have gone up and that everything we do is so much more expensive than before COVID. Now, that might be a perception, but like looking at how much the average spend was before on a dinner versus what it is now, it feels a little bit like prices have gone up. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I was just very surprised to see this because normally when you go into a recession, people think about how do they make packages or value offerings which are, a little bit cleverer around what the perception is to the customer than what we've experienced. So I was just wondering,
Yeah, so I think, from an accommodation and also from some of our operators, if they package, great, they can do that. They because it has a period of time, but we're not encouraging our operators to drop their rates extensively unless they've got a totally different product, which is the case of, I'm only using Aries helicopters as one example. Then they've obviously moved their product to suit the domestic market, so their rates are a lot cheaper.
Awesome, thank you. So
Denise, I've got a question. Do you mind? Just a quick question about collaboration amongst the people out there. So have you got any examples for us that something new popped up and people just all of a sudden collaborating? I don't know, some business combinations. Is there anything interesting happening? Just I feel like we're going through a process of growth and innovation and people coming out with amazing ideas lately. So what's your experience in that area?
Yeah, so we do have operators that are, sorry, I think it's a bit of feedback. There you go. We do have operators that are collaborating and are doing some group stuff. So that is available as well. And we've always encouraged that, as particularly in the domestic market and in the international as well. It's really important, but I think it's more so important now than ever right now, because then they're supporting each other. But I think, we do still have operators that are hibernating, that particularly those that are work on the water. It's not exactly the nicest time to be out there. However, and it gives them the opportunity to review their whole business plan and also look at how they're going to move forward when it comes school holidays and come Christmas time.
Okay, perfect. So, Chef Cynthia, question for you. So you will need to unmute yourself. You're obviously seeing this. So we are talking here about little New Zealand and, like our region. You're obviously seeing a much larger market. Your global people know you, not just in Bali, but everywhere around the world. How have you experienced the COVID-19 and like how has that impacted your business globally?
Let me just unmute. Hello, everybody. There's a couple of things here. So in Indonesia, where I live and I've been based for many, many years, Bali relies solely on tourism and a little bit of export, not import, more export. And we have zero tourism. So you can imagine what that's done to the whole island, and mainly Bali. So that has locked every small, tiny little corner store down. And then you've got the in-between stores, and then you've got the high-end stores, and then you've got the hotels, and you've got the resorts, and then you've got the villas. So that's a really huge, massive stop on everything. And so our restaurants are closed. So what we've what we've realized is that the domestic market has never been a focus. It's so interesting. And so now with this in our faces on the ground here, it's like, oh my God, there's a huge market here that actually don't rely on tourism, that actually rely on production, that actually rely on resources on the island and in Java as well, Jakarta, rely on, you know, creating products and exporting. We're more exporters than we are importers. And so that market is massive. And so what we've done as a collective is we've looked at that and like, because we're not allowed to open yet, only certain places are allowed to open. And we've looked at that and we're like completely changed our strategy when it comes to the Genius Cafe entrepreneur movement here in Bali. And we're focusing only and solely on the domestic market. And so what that means is not just cutting our prices or creating deals, it's creating more of a vibe in our restaurants. So online is huge. So Instagram walls are massive in your restaurants. They really are. And they can create such a huge ripple effect domestically. And so an Instagram wall can look like 4 to 5 things. It can look individual walls with individual things on them. And there's one business in particular, 2 girls, 25-year-olds, built a really tiny cafe here in Indonesia. And it exploded because of their social media. This is way before COVID. COVID came in, they're still thriving because of the domestic market. They focused on the domestic market. And
are you talking about Kind Cafe?
Yes, I am. I'm talking about the Kind Cafe. Lol and her partner. I was just so interested in their process, and I ignored it because we weren't focusing on the domestic market. We were focusing on the nomads and the digital nomads and the entrepreneurs that float into Bali, and they're so transient and they spend their money and their, you know, throwaway income. And then this has made me realize, oh my God, like we have an opportunity here to look at the domestic market in Bali, look at the families, look at their children, look at where they went to school, look at their outside of their school grounds and what they do socially. We're going through the whole channel and creating a roadmap. And I suggest you guys do the same because it's really amazing when you look at it from a different angle. No schools are open here as well. So what do these people actually do outside of that? That's what we're looking at. And where do they actually able to come for dinner? What does that look like for a family, especially a family? And what are we operating there with the children? How are we giving them comfort in a cafe when we open? So we're looking at all that. Globally, with the Genius Cafe group, we've been closed. So 2 resorts in South Africa completely closed. And so re-educating the team there and allowing the team to have, you know, the opportunity to re-educate is something that's happening there, as well as in Singapore. We just opened and then we closed our doors. And so that's a whole, you know, that's a huge ripple effect. So what we'd had to do was, and we didn't do it in the beginning, and this is what we should have done before we opened, we should have got on all the delivery sites, Grab, Gojek. We don't have Uber Eats. We have different ones in Asia, and we didn't. And it's so fascinating because we weren't relying on that. We were relying on the entrepreneur, nomad, kind of transient human or a business human that creates events. And we forgot about that domestic woman. She's at home, she's got children, she doesn't want to cook tonight. We didn't tap into that market. Same as Sneska, same thing, you know, that's a whole ski lodge, and that had to close down. So that's part of my business, right? I'm a partner in that brand. I'm not a consultant, I'm an actual partner. And a shareholder. So that's a very interesting wake-up call for me as a business owner. It's like domestic. Look after your own backyard first. And how do we do that in diversity? And there's one thing that I'm doing and setting up is creating, sure, we've reduced menus and everything, but creating box packages of food so you can make them at home, you can put them together, you can reheat them, things like that. Creating more of an understanding of what the kids need to eat, so it's family friendly, not just having a menu and delivering. We're kind of diversifying, creating detox menus off it, cleansers off the menu, and also reducing our menu. So it's really fascinating. Right now, the whole of Bali as rates, because there's no tourism, so all the hotels reduced their price. I'm staying in a 6-star resort right now, and it's $70 a night. It's normally 900 USD a night. So you can imagine from 70 USD, and it was 900 USD to 70 USD. Now they're full. They're full. And so what that's doing is that's still providing work, right? They can still lift their prices up, and they will do when the place opens, the whole border opens. But it's a smart move for this country to do that. Now, cafes, they're kind of very challenging. Collaboration here is really non-existent. It's very competitive, and it's kind of disgusting for me because I'm such a big collaborator. And so you'll walk into a cafe and everything's $5 a meal. Can you imagine that? Everything's $5. And you go next door and they're empty. And you go next door and they're empty. And you go next door. So now they have to put everything that's $4 a meal. You know, it's retarded. So there's a way of doing it mindfully and talking to other business owners and going, hey, listen, we're going to do a special deal. Do you want to come in on it so we can all share this wealth together? And that's not what I'm seeing here. I'm seeing more kind of like survival, which is really interesting. For my brand directly, so what I do directly online, and this is something that I've been building this business for a long time. This is not an overnight success, by the way. This is since 2000.
What? I thought you started yesterday.
No, this has been hard work and consistently hard work and a growing team for me and my what I do online. My brand has exploded. And how has it exploded? Because I'm on a lot of TV, I'm doing a lot of TV, and I do a lot of interviews, and I'm out there a lot teaching online. It's exploded because people have been forced to stay home, to reassess what they're eating, to reassess where they're spending their money. And what I've noticed is cooking shows aren't designed to show you how to cook. They're designed to sit you on the couch and to help you buy products. So what I've done is I've created products. And so what I'm doing with the Genius Cafe movement is I'm going to create products. And so therefore, even a little cafe that has this huge, freezer and this huge dry store and this huge cold room, and you can all understand that. And my hummus sits in a big bucket. So when my people buy it off the menu, I serve it. Well, I'm going to jar it up and put a brand on it. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so diversity, what's in my pantry is a really great thing, because I can take all the legumes and all the salt and all the pepper, and I can bag it all up and put it as a brand. And it's not competitive. I can create Pampers. It's not about making money. It's about making abundance. And when I mean about not making money, it's not like making some brand that's really expensive. It's just about having a different, diverse option. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And water, guys. Bottle your own water and get your own labels and things like that. Just diversing. And products have been huge for me online. I'm just about to launch another product next week. It's been off the charts, what people are wanting to buy, because we're all fixated on quick, get it to me fast, make the meal and deliver it. And delivery companies have let us down because they're so busy and they've been swamped. And so making your own delivery company, do you know what I mean? That's what we did in Singapore. We created our own delivery company and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
That's awesome. So Cynthia, do you think, or when you look at diversification or any hospitality, the cafe or restaurant, right, in Bali or in New Zealand or anywhere in the world, do you think this is a pathway any restaurant can go down? Is the whole productization, or do you need, what's your idea around suggesting to others how they diversify in that industry?
Look, I just think that we're so fixated on our avatar, and I think to move away from that and to really open up our doors and to show that we have multiple things for sale, and we have not only multiple things for sale, and we're bagged up, whatever it might be, in your country or wherever anyone's from, is creating the diversity with the whole of all avatars. It's like that the whole online movement is massive. If you can create a part at the front of your shop or inside your shop, or creates a vibe that people want to take a photo, and they really, really do, and you get the younger generation in, and you would never have got them, and that's another part of your domestic market, and that's what I'm noticing. At Genius Cafe, we'd never have got a younger generation in there. We wouldn't. We'd get a digital nomad, 30-something, Do you know what I mean? We wouldn't get the teenagers. We would never get that market. And they've got money because mum's got money, right? So now we're building these walls and creating these vibes where these kids are going to want to come in. They're just going to want to, because it creates a ripple effect. It's very fascinating, the online world. I think that also, you know, it's really easy for us chefs to look in our pantries and see a bag of salt and chuck a label on it and sell it. It's really easy to diversify like that. And salt is one of the most amazing ingredients on the planet. It has 84 trace elements in it. It can be local, it can be global, and it can have a whole story around it. And people are going to want to buy that because they trust you. So there's just ways of doing things like that, in my opinion, and that's what I'm doing. And it's, you know, it's really interesting where my mind goes. It's like, how do I create and leverage more revenue? And we're closed, and I'm already creating all these platforms and, you know, working it out. And also another thing too is what I'm going to do is partner up with schools and get the kids in the kitchen and create a whole vibe around that. So allowing children to come in, you know, the right age and the right footwear, the right consent, and really marketing that in such a big way, and giving them an opportunity to have an opportunity front of house, back of house, in-house, behind a computer, and giving them an opportunity to work as a business owner and to an entrepreneur, and just having them under our wing creates a massive ripple effect online, you know, and people start talking about your restaurant. And so, yeah, that's my next path. Because I'm actually about to open a restaurant in this climate right now. And that's what my plan is, to set up a whole system around these kids at school and bringing them in. And
that's actually a great thought, and I would love your view on this. So I got called the other day by, I think, the New Zealand Herald, and they asked me if I thought it was a good climate to start a business. And so we had this whole discussion around. So what do you think? Like, well, my answers, just so, like, I was like, any day is a good day to start a business if you wanted to start a business, right? If you are an entrepreneur or a business owner at heart, there is no better time than now, right? Or 20 years ago.
Yeah. I think that's got nothing to do with being an entrepreneur. I think what's really smart is, and I can only talk about Indonesia right now, is that right now the domestic clients were never taken care of. We never looked at them. And I don't know about New Zealand. I mean, you would have looked at them a little bit, then you had the busy season, then you had the tourist season, then you had the summer season. And really, you know, we never really looked at the chick around the corner and mum at home and dad going to work. It wasn't really our focus. And so absolutely, it's a great time to open a business. Absolutely, it's a great time to connect to our farmers. It's a great time to really shake the hand that's providing our stuff. And it takes effort, right? But the effort pays off, trust me. Right now, I'm in conversations with many farmers, you know, globally, because, you know, I've got things happening in Australia and everywhere globally, and I'm having conversation with the supplier. I'm having conversation with the supplier, gets their supply. I'm having conversation with the supplier, gets their supply, till I find the source. It's a fascinating conversation, because once you find, you know, who's making our food, we start to create a relationship, and it's really quite extraordinary. And I believe that there keeps the economy. We're starting to understand what's going on. Instead of just as chefs, we go online, we place our orders and it comes in. No, I'm stopping all of that in my business and going, right, who is growing these tomatoes? Are they coming from Italy? Are they coming from Java? Are they coming from Singapore or the US? Where are they actually coming from? And who is that? And we're creating this, we're really going through this train station kind of thing to find out, because it just creates such wealth in your business, and it gives you an opportunity to connect. And that can create a huge saving on your end line of buying your produce and dry goods at the end of the day for a business. Absolutely, without a doubt. And I've done it, and I've proven it, and it just takes a little bit of effort. And some of them don't want to talk to you. They're like, I don't want to talk to them. I'm not going to tell you where I get my stuff from. And then you find some that do. And it's like, wow, I never knew you had, oh my gosh. And then especially in New Zealand, my God, the produce there. Every time I go there, I'm just like, Jesus. Like, there's such a wealth of celebration to the shaking the hand that feeds you. And that's a whole marketing campaign online. And I just love that. I love that idea.
So Josh, Denise, you wanted to share something?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of back up what Cynthia is saying. We've actually been running a campaign in regards to connecting with our residents. And if you actually go on our website, you'll see that we've got a number of stories and we've got more to come. And it's all about our people and some of it definitely, and it's all about our produce. And I think what you're saying, Cynthia, makes absolute sense. And that's one of our pillars, so to speak, in our Te Hatapoi, which is the love of tourism for the Bay of Plenty. And yeah, I commend you, because that's it's in your backyard. It's right there. Go for it. Yeah.
Oh my God, I know, it's so exciting, because like as business owners and as chefs, like I'm a chef, right? But I'm also a global chef, you know what I mean? And I'm just like so fascinated in the dude that grows the wheat. Like I would never have thought of him, and now it's like, oh my God, like tell me everything. And then he can tell you the top of the soil, the bottom of the soil, and that's a whole campaign. Like, and it's just like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And I'm so grateful that you get it, Denise. Like you really do. Like it's a part of a new way of looking at things, because we have been smashed in the face and our wallets, and we have, as business owners, gone, holy shit, like this ripple effect is massive, down to the kitchen hand and their family and what their home loans they're paying. Like we have to actually figure out how to turn this around. And domestic market is sitting there smiling at us, and we ignored them. We ignored them because we waited for that winter season, the summer season, the tourist season, the European season, when the New Zealand fly over here.
All I want to say, and this is what I love, is like you hear Cynthia talk about business, wait until you hear her talk about food. And really talk about eating and health and wealth. Like listening to you is always quite inspiring. Josh, I just wanted to jump back to you for a second.
Sure.
Because I think I mentioned Kind Cafe to you before. Like I was blown away when I first heard about Kind Cafe. They pretty much, I think over 2 years, they built like 100. Well, last time I looked, they had like 120,000 followers. The 80% of their content is created by people who are there. And then, so when I heard the story last time I was in Bali, I was like, I'm going to go and check them out. And what blew my mind is that most people, like I'm not kidding you, were there to take a photo. Like they weren't actually there to lunch or dine. Like they would buy the food just so that they could take the photo with the wall, with the food, with the cocktail. And I'm like, such a fascinating concept. Now, you guys, you have a theme, right? You are Mexican, so
yeah.
And pretty. What was your experience online so far?
In respect to like a social media.
Yeah, and like the online presence of Barrio Brothers.
Yeah, we are. I'm for a start not an expert. I would say competent, but definitely not an expert. And we've found that our engagement soared right when no one had anything to do apart from scroll through their phones and go on Instagram and Facebook and stuff. And it was funny because when we were doing the deciding which suburbs to do the sort of the neighborhood drop off deliveries to, Papamoa in the Mount was, I think, the second highest response rate. We had loads of people from Papamoa. I'm pointing, sorry it's that way. You guys have no idea. We had loads of people reply, yep, Brent Papamoa. I think that translated into probably less than 10 actual orders. But it was the likes of the other suburbs that are kind of less trendy that we had a massive response that generated sales from. So yeah, it was kind of a funny one, but it's sort of settled back into normality now, and we have I would say that we have an okay, locally an okay sort of a social media following, but it's been kind of hard. I feel like we hit like a ceiling, particularly with Instagram, and it has probably something to do with our strategy. Is we hit the ceiling with it, and it's like we can't get above that many followers, and like my brother.
Let me help you, Josh.
Okay, cool.
Like there's a way to do this, and this is what I want to say to all of us, even myself. Yeah. We talk about authenticity and transparency, and that word gets thrown around like red lollies in the corner store, you know what I mean? But Josh, you have something so profound in your business to offer, and it's real people doing real things that affect their life in a real way. That to me is a strategy. all you've got to do. You've just showing the world how you operate in your kitchen, handing over your device to these young kids on the floor and giving them the opportunity to do the stories and everything. You will see a massive growth. Creating a strategy and hiring an Instagram person or hiring someone to do your social media is not what I do at all. I don't think it's the way, but giving the crew the opportunity to film and to do things like that is just exactly what this group of women did. They not only just had an Instagram wall, and it wasn't about Instagram, it was more about the fact that they just let it out, and they grew from a 20-seater to serving 900 people a day. Do you know what I mean? That's massive. And because of just being so transparent in the way, and they highlighted each staff member every freaking day. Today is Cynthia's day. Cynthia's an amazing kitchen hand. She comes from Europe. She's been in New Zealand for 10 years. She's got this beautiful house and this beautiful little kid. And her goal is to have a coffee shop, and we're going to help her get there. That you'll just increase your following, because people want real stories and they want real outcomes. And that's who we are. Like, you can't bullshit it. You can't grow followers. You can grow connection. Followers and likes, it's not a part of my business. When people say you've got hundreds of thousands of followers, I don't give a fuck about that. My goal is to communicate with you and to have a connection with you, and hope to my heart that I can assist and help in any way. And if you translate that into your social media strategy, you'll see a huge jump in your social media climbing.
I think, Josh, the big thing for you, and this is what I like, I've tried to get you on having conversations like this one a couple of times now, where you're like, oh, I don't want to speak. But like, what I love about your story is actually you guys have such an authentic, incredible story. Not only about Barrio Brothers, but also, Barrio Express, where one of your team members, and I'm just going to shine a light on this, but it's like one of your team members said, hey, I want to set up something like this, and you went like, yep, come up with the concept and the idea, and we'll support you, right?
Yeah.
So they are the stories you need to share.
Oh my God.
You know them, and I only know them because I know you, but they are the stories you want to share, right? Because people do business with people. And when we think about local community and domestic, we even us, we choose the people, like we go out to a restaurant instead of 5 times a week now, maybe twice, and we're going to go to the people we can connect to and we love, right? Like you've seen us over the years, we had 12-month stint where we were in your restaurant every week. And the reason we were in your restaurant every week is because your bar manager knew what we were drinking, your staff knew what we were ordering. We could go there for an hour without having to look at the menu or be interrupted. And, we would have you always there to say hello. So I think that's the connection you need to create in your strategy, I reckon.
Yeah, totally. Okay. And don't put too much effort into it, Josh. Don't make this as a part of your plan. Don't book it in on Monday. Don't go, I've got to do this, I've got to post on Sunday at 9 o'clock, and then I've got to post at 10. Don't do that. Just look at your business and stand back and have a look at these amazing humans that are your team, not your staff, are your team, and look at them and go, oh my God, like every single one of them has a personality. Who can I highlight? Who can I give this device to and hand it over to them while they're still operating on a high level in your business, but also creating a ripple effect outside of your business, which is online. It's like, yeah.
No, it's like the profile thing, something that we've talked about in the past. We've never done it through. I guess I've always worried about it, like for a lack of a better way to describe it, looking shit, in the sense that, not polished, I suppose. But
it'll be real, Josh.
The way you've explained it, doesn't seem it doesn't matter that much.
Looking for, though. They're not looking for the polished version. The best things, the one thing which I think, Cynthia, you did the best, and I've adopted your strategy a couple of times, is you used to have this banner, you no longer have a banner on, but you used to have this banner on Facebook where it was all the oopsies of the recording. And you were having like all that fun in the background, stuffing it up, right? So you'll have this polished version of Chef Cynthia, recorded of like, this is me and doing my thing. And then you had this oopsie, like, and this is how it took us like 200 takes to make that one short 3-minute video. So
Totally. Burn stuff, Josh. Drop stuff. Be a twit. Don't organize your social media so it's polished. It's not. That is. And when I said before, who do I hang around? I hang around 50, 60, 7-year-olds in Indonesia. Yes, I have a group of beautiful businesswomen that I'm with now at this resort, who are my dearest, closest friends with young kids that are operating multi-million-dollar businesses. But I'm also around the older generation that aren't polished. And I refuse to be a polished Instagram glow lighting human. You know, I'm 50 years old in a couple of months. It's like, this is real stories, real people doing real stuff. And what we're lacking and what we found in this COVID was we were forced to stay home and connect. And it was horrific. And I can't imagine what happened in those houses of abuse and all the things that happened around the world. But we were forced to connect. And it took us to a place where we've never been before. And yes, it put us online, and we were looking for more connection, and we were still confronted with this polished look. Open your doors up to the world and shine a light on the team that are there, that build that money that comes in that cash register. Like, it's just such a great way to show, you know, not just New Zealand but globally, that you guys are really, you know, doing something quite extraordinary. And like you said before, Pauline, they created something with a guy that wanted to have his own business, and oh my God, that's a story in itself, you know, like you become this.
Such a cool story.
Yeah, I want to eat there. I want to eat there now because of that story.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly it, Josh. You think, you know, oh, this is like, I know you're humble and you're like, oh, you know, this is just what we do, but it's not like, it's not a normal thing. I mean, we see it more and more, and I'm lucky to be surrounded by inspiring business owners who all do exceptionally amazing things. But it is not normal to be supporting your team and your crew the way you did. And like, even the highlighting, you know, you're saying how your team was like super happy and like supporting you through the process. That is an answer to how you treat them in the first place. It's not just oh yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, like we have put a lot of effort into making an environment that typically has a huge, you know, hugely high staff turnover. Like, you know, the hospitality industry is notorious for it, but I think of all the management positions, whether they're chefs or front house, I think the one that we've had maybe 6 months is the last hire we had before that, but then most of the other ones are like 5-6 years. So that's something that we've worked really hard on, is making an environment that, you know, you're always going to get the transient people, and you know, of course, a person that works 10 hours a week for you is not going to work for you forever. They're going to, you know, eventually find a job that can actually sustain them. But the guys that we do have working for us, our core group of people, we tend to hold on to them. So yeah, probably goes some way to how we treat them.
It was like the same thing as like when Katie left, you know, all the plastering. Like, I think you guys would have seen a spike in your social media when you really looked for it, just purely by her posting things about like 5 years or 6 years, how bittersweet the goodbye was, you know, what a great time you had, like the reflection, like all of this was shared around, right? So you were like, we need to check out those people, like who are those people? And then good people want to support good people, because we connect each other, right? We are attracting each other. But our time is almost over, so I wanted to ask you guys each to maybe, if you have, like, to our fellow hospital and other business owners out there, with the uncertain times coming, what would be like your one tip? You can have two, Cynthia, because I know you probably have already 10 in your head, but what would be like your one tip to knowing we're going into an unknown time, how like around business or business strategy or support network, like what would be the one thing where you were like, yeah, you should be doing this, or I would recommend you do that? Look at all those plain clothes. I'm liking this. Denise or Josh, you've unmuted yourself, so Josh, you go first. Sounds like you are muted.
I'm on. For us, we took a really good look at making sure all of our costings were in line. You know, it's pretty easy to let those, even especially if you're an owner operator and you're working in there every day. Having it all on an Excel sheet, costed up properly, and everything recipeed, standardized, goes a long way to making sure you're actually going to make money. And and then correct staffing levels. And we were operating, I think, in like a habitual kind of a way where the guys turned up at work kind of the same times. We've been able to run way more efficiently since COVID, because we've just kind of, those hours weren't there, and we've just sort of crept them out to a point where we're running more efficiently than we have for a long time.
Awesome.
So that's what I would recommend.
Cool, thank you. Denise?
I think pretty much following on, I guess, from what Cynthia said, is definitely about connecting with our locals. I think that is extremely important, and I encourage any industry partner or hospitality to reach out to those guys. And obviously it's really important that from a Tourism Bay of Plenty that we're getting those stories out there as well. So I've said to Josh, come and connect with us, and we'll do a good story on them.
I love it. So it was definitely worth it already. And Cynthia?
Well, look after yourself first. I really, really, really can't say it enough. Your health is so important in these times. It is way beyond the word health. It is way beyond the word healthy. It is really, truly understanding that you matter, and your priority is how you think and what you put in your body. And it's a huge thing for me in as a human being in business, is I must understand that I have 78 organs in this body. They're an orchestration of intelligence. It's not about being vegetarian or vegan or being a raw foodist. I must understand that if I look after this body, and if I'm at the peak of my existence, whatever that looks like, that it is the most vital thing that comes across to my team, to my spreadsheets, to my cost savings, to my partnerships. And how one does that is up to them. It's your own praxis. So for me, it's real food, and it's simply that. It's not about knocking out animal flesh, not about knocking out that. It's just real ingredients. And if we can flood the body system there, I'm telling you that you will be it'll just unfold into something quite extraordinary. And that comes out into our spreadsheets, into our cost saving, into our partnerships, into an online, because we've got to put our gas mask on first. And that is something that I teach, and I believe in business, it is what we're missing, because we get into this frantic state and the breath becomes in the chest, and we start to, we've got to come back, and we're just in this cortisol ring around our tummies, and we're in a whole lot of states. So in your beautiful businesses that we're all in, and I'm saying this to myself, we must look after these amazing organs. And that's my tip.
Awesome, thank you. I love, I've heard you, Cynthia, talk about the 78 organs and real food a few times now, and I think that's another hour we might have to book at some point else, because I think everyone should be listening to that conversation. Like, it's such an incredible way of how you think about not just being healthy, but what actually health means. Like, you definitely taught me a lot over the years.
And it's not about going on a diet or going on a plan, everybody. It's not about that. It's not about being vegan and vegetarian and, oh my God, I'm going to be keto. It's not about even following Chef Cynthia Louise. It's just really about understanding that 78 organs is an orchestration of intelligence. And we must look after that. And I tell you, it's a game changer in business. It's a game changer to the team. It's a game changer to the chef, to the outer community. It's a game changer, And anyway.
All right, so in summary, we have look after your health, number one, look after your business health through financials, cost savings, making really sure that you're running efficiently, and reaching out to partnerships. And I think it's absolutely beautiful that these were the 3 tips, because that's what supporting locals stands for. We are a community of like-minded business owners and experts sharing with each other everything about how to thrive in this economy. So Josh, Denise, and Cynthia, thank you so much for participating. I really love the story, Josh, and the connections we have just made here, the nuggets we all going to take out of this, because this is not just in hospo you can do this. Like, that is real people are in every business, so shine a light on them. And I'm just so super grateful that all three of you had the time and that you allowed everyone who's going to be watching this later on to learn from you guys and understand that there's people out there who see this all as an opportunity, not just doom and gloom. Awesome, Josh. I will see you on tonight. I will see you tonight is Wednesday, so I'll see you tonight.
Lovely to meet you both. Lovely to meet you, Denise.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
Bye bye. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks you.
Pauline.
Bye.